One thing that's really nice about going to see a bunch of these biopics that I've seen in the last year or so is that I am introduced to artists, mainly musical artists, that I've never been exposed to before. And so after seeing this, I really want to listen to some of the Beatles music and Brian Wilson stuff. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my apartment. So today we are going to talk about the film Love and Mercy. This is a small release, limited release film which showed up at my AMC theater. The film stars John Cusack, Elizabeth Banks, Paul Dano, and Paul Giamatti in the lead roles for this film. Both Cusack and Dano play Brian Wilson. Paul Dano plays him as a teenager in the 1960s, and then John Cusack plays him in the 1980s as an adult. And they're two very different people. Paul Dano's Brian Wilson is this inspired young musician who is a musical genius in all points of the word. Paul Dano is easily the standout role in this film for me. He was someone who I was really impressed with his acting because he really captured the inspiration that Brian Wilson seemed to have at this age. He's just coming up with all this different type of music and experimenting, and you could see him like just hearing the music and then trying to put it on the paper and come up with it on piano. It's just a really good performance, and it really captured the essence of what Brian Wilson was. And then we have John Cusack, who shows a Brian Wilson who's very cracked and a very broken person because he's under a lot of medication. His life has not gone the best since the Beach Boys, and it's just really interesting to see the differences because a lot of the film is jumping back and forth from past to present, as in the 1980s, and showing the different sides of this individual and kind of showing what led to him becoming the person that he is at the start of the film, and then seeing him kind of evolve from that and ultimately get better. Elizabeth Banks is a large part of that. She plays Melinda. She's this person who's selling Brian Wilson a car, and they get to know each other through there, and then they begin something of a relationship. And it's just really cool. Paul Giamatti is this guy who is trying to essentially control Brian Wilson. He plays Landy, and I don't know how much about Brian Wilson's history you know, but I don't want to really spoil too much of what the movie ends up as by the end of the film, because I knew nothing about this guy going into the film. I knew relatively nothing about this film going into it. I knew it had something to do with some sort of artist back in the 60s. I didn't know what group or anything. And so I was really happy that I didn't really know any big details, because a lot of it got to be a surprise for me, because I got to see the evolution of this character as the music evolved, because they used the music throughout this film very, very well, because they intersperse it throughout it. You get to see kind of the origins of standout pieces and hits that people will recognize, and even I recognize, even though I don't listen to Beach Boys all that often. It's just a very cool way to intersperse the music, and it just works really nicely. The only real issue that I had with the film is that it is a little bit long. By the last half hour, I was kind of looking at my watch like, come on, let's wrap this up quickly. I didn't know how much longer it was going to go. It is about a 2-hour movie, and I think they could have shaved up maybe 10 minutes or so of it just to kind of shorten it, because it does overstay its welcome just a little bit. One thing that the film does do really well is it deals with mental illness, because Brian Wilson, he does have something like this, and you see it begin to occur in him as a teenager, and you get to see the full effects of an undiagnosed, untreated mental illness in him as an adult. And it's really interesting how the film does that, and as far as I'm aware, it does it and it shows it really accurately, and I really do respect that, and I really do like seeing that in a modern age movie about someone who, when this stuff was happening, however long ago, 30 years ago, they're able to capture that very realistically. The ending, without spoiling anything, it does what I really, like my standard for what biopics need to do in order to appease me, at least by the end of the film, is that it gives a little text saying, this is what happened to these people after the events of this film that we just showed you. And it does that, and I really like that. And then for the first half of the end credits, it shows a video of Brian Wilson after all these events have taken place, doing a concert. And it's really neat to see, and I really did enjoy that. So yeah, Love and Mercy is a film that I knew nothing about going into it. I never saw a trailer for it, and I like that all the more because I didn't really know what to expect going into it, and it was a full surprise for me. I had no expectations, and I walked out of it very, very happy that I had seen it, and I now know a fair amount about the life of Brian Wilson, the leader of the Beach Boys, and just kind of the history of that group and the evolution and eventual separation of the whole group itself. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Love and Mercy. I really did enjoy the film. I recommend going to see it if you have the opportunity. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe to this video if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. And as always, Merry people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.